As the finale of Invincible aired just over a week ago, it's got people talking about Deku and Invincible, and usually this is where I'd put these two up against each other, but this time I've decided, forget the fighting. How about we have some unity instead? So in this video, I'm going to be putting these two together to see if they could take down every threat in each other's series. So strap in, because as you can tell by the length of the video, I'm going to get real in depth with this video. But before I get into the video, if you guys enjoy content like this, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. I do post content like this regularly, and to be honest, it's a win-win. You guys show me love and support, and I'll give it back to you in the form of videos. Whether it's Invincible, My Hero, or just fiction in general, in due time I'm covering it, so be there when I go there. I feel like that's enough of my rambling, so I jump straight into the video and find out if these two can take down every threat inside of each other's series. Also really quickly, go check my out on Twitter, as he did create the thumbnail for this video, and all of his art is really high quality, so you should definitely pay him a visit. But with that being said, when I jump back into the video. Now before I jump in, I'm going to have to go over the rule/format of the video so you guys know what I'm doing this by. Now the rules for this video will be very simple, but before I delve into them, I'm going to have to go over how I'll be formatting this video. The way I'll be formatting this video will go as follows. I'll be taking them through every fight that's sort of major throughout their series to determine whether they'll be able to deal with the issue as a duo or not. For instance, I won't be putting Midoriya and Mark up against a sludge villain, as there's no point. Nor will I put him in with Midoriya when he's fighting Bakugo or Todoroki, as they aren't villains, so what's really the point? Another thing I'd like to add for the format of this video is the person series I'm going through will be the current version of that person. So if I'm going through season 1 of Invincible, it will be season 1 Mark, but he'll be accompanied by whatever version I decide to use for Midoriya. The final thing I'd like to add for the format of this video will be, unless I say so, no scenario will directly link to the next scenario, meaning they'll be their own little pocketed scenarios, but the relationship between Mark and Deku will remain throughout each scenario. Okay, I was lying about that being the final thing. I do need to cover how I'll be scoring the video. Now how I'll be giving them points will be based on how they do. Say for instance Midoriya loses but Mark somehow survives the scenario and wins, I'll be giving them half a point. If both of them come out of the scenario undefeated, then they'll get a point. But if both of them lose, then yeah, they're not getting any points. Another thing I will be doing is splitting up how many scenarios they survive together and just how many points they have overall in the end. Why I'm doing it this way, well, there's no real explanation behind it, but if you want to make like a makeshift explanation for why I'm doing this, well, I mean, it's just to see how many scenarios they fully survive. I don't know, I just like putting extra things in here to make it seem cool. But before I do delve into the rules, I like to add that for the people that have only seen the animated part of each series, don't worry about spoilers, as if I do delve into any spoilers, they'll be extremely minor. So have no fear, as this video will be extremely spoiler friendly. So with that being said, why don't I finally jump into the rules. The first rule cover what states both of them will be in throughout the video. For very obvious reasons, Midoriya will be in his season 3 till final war state, since, well, in season 1 and 2 Midoriya isn't impressive, so I'll have season 3 Midoriya accompany season 1 Mark, then I'll have season 5 Midoriya accompany season 2 Mark, and finally I'll have final war Midoriya accompany season 3 Mark. For Mark, I'll have season 1 Mark help Midoriya through season 1 to 3, and then season 2 Mark will accompany Midoriya from season 4 to 5, and then season 3 Mark will help him from season 6 to the final war. The second rule will cover how they'll both be acting. Both of them will be in character. Usually people, and even myself included, will put them in extremely serious states of mind, but this time I'm going to let them figure out every scenario while in character, so it's far more interesting. The third rule is that both of them will share the exact same information as each other. This means that if they're in My Hero and they're going up against someone like Shigaraki, Mark will know about his quirk and other things about him, since Midoriya knows about it. So the fourth and final rule will cover who else will be in their fight. As we know, in each respective series, both of them may have been in group fights or just solo fights. This rule is here to say, unless they are extremely important to their fight, the people that are inside the fight in the regular series will be kicked out, so only Mark and Midoriya will be fighting alongside each other, so we can make it a little bit more spicy. So with that being said, I feel like I've covered everything I need to cover, so why don't we jump straight into the video. Wait, hold on, before we actually jump into the video, I think it would be great to scale these guys so we understand where they stand in terms of strength. And so out of the two of them, I'm going to cover Mark, as I've never covered him on the channel before. In season 1, Mark was seen stopping a meteor. Now although Nolan does say it was a small one, he does add that he did at least save a country. Now you may be thinking, oh, this is a country level feat, right? It's not. The reason this isn't impressive is because, well, a meteor doesn't need to be that big to destroy a country. The reason a meteor around a mile in diameter should be able to destroy a country is mainly due to gravity and other science jargon I doubt you guys want to hear right now. So in Ugabuga terms, Mark should be around mountain to large mountain levels in terms of AP, as he was able to stop it from actually coming down and crashing down. He stopped it just as it was about to pick up speed, as we saw, since it did light on fire. So yeah, for speed, Mark is easily relativistic as he's able to travel to the moon in seconds. You could try to get this higher, but I believe that this is fair. Moving on, we have a durability, and it should be equal to his AP, if not higher, as we do see Mark take many blows from Nolan. Then again, Nolan wasn't trying to kill him, so I think I'll just keep his durability at where his AP is, and that is mountain level to large mountain level. So that is what I'm going to say for season 1 Mark. It's known here that he's pretty naive and can take a lot of damage, and well, I mean, his hacks is very light and it will stay the exact same throughout the series. As we know, his hacks are flight, he can hold his breath for extended periods of time, and he has super strength. Only his enhanced healing, but I doubt that'll be necessary here. So with that being said, why not I jump straight into season 2 Mark? In season 2, we do see that Mark does get a bump in power, as he does go from struggling to fight people on Earth to then being able to battle Viltrumites. Now, although he didn't win, he did put up a really good fight and did show that he could fight on par with them. It's also great to mention that these Viltrumites aren't that special, as Nolan was able to dispose of them one by one and was going to finish them off if not for Mark calling out for help. This was also a Nolan who wasn't in the right state of mind, meaning he wasn't fighting to the best of his ability, and as we all know, Viltrumites aren't meant to be fighting with emotion, unless it's Mark. This does mean that season 2 Mark is easily around country level, and you can definitely put him above, and that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put season 2 Mark at large country level, since that does seem very fair for him. Now for his speed, to say that Mark took a massive step up in this category would be a massive understatement. Mark was able to perceive and keep up with Viltrumites. Now the reason this is so important is because Nolan was able to travel to the Super Virgo cluster in 2 weeks, meaning he traveled 65 million light years in just 2 weeks. Now, though he doesn't directly scale to Nolan, we can say that he loosely scales around there, as he's able to perceive and keep up with the Viltrumites. So I'll say at a massive low ball, he should definitely be massively faster than light. And the rest of his stats go without saying. His durability should be comparable to his AP, if not better, and he's able to endure more than he was previously, making him a monster in that stat. And finally, we have his battle IQ, which does get a bump since he does gain more experience throughout the season. Finally, we have season 3 Mark, and just like last time, he gets a massive boost to all of his stats. At the end of season 3, we do see Mark taking blows from Conquest and dealing damage to him, meaning he should be at least multi-continental to moon level in terms of AP and durability. The reason I have it either or is because without his rage amp, he isn't comparable to Conquest. I say this because although Mark can damage him, he doesn't do any lasting damage, and we see what happens when Conquest and Mark charge at each other whilst trying. Mark breaks Conquest's arm, but while in the process of doing that, he does break his own. Meaning while mad, he is able to do damage to Conquest, but in return, he does have to break his bones. And that is why his durability doesn't budge from multi-continental, but his AP can skyrocket to around moon level. Mark does get faster, but not enough to jump another tier in terms of speed, as that would be infinite speed, and spoiler alert, nobody in Invincible gets that far, so keeping Mark at massively faster than light is extremely fair. So for his battle IQ and endurance, they do get better, as we do see that he's able to have his bones broken and continue fighting, and inside the battle he is smarter. So that wraps up Mark's section, so why don't I jump straight into Midoriya's section. At the end of season 3, Midoriya unlocks 8% of One For All, and we see him go toe to toe with Bakugo. Prior to this, we see 5% Deku damage or holding back All Might and take on Muscular. This All Might was shown to casually blow away a city, and since Deku was able to damage him and even take attacks from him, you could put him at around multi-city block level to small town levels in terms of AP. But that was at the end of season 2, and at the end of season 3, he definitely gaps where he was before. Meaning if you really wanted to, you could put him at around large town level to small city level. Although the increase may seem a little bit drastic, I'm going to explain to you guys why it isn't so drastic, and it's pretty simple, and it just goes with how One For All works. As One For All is a multiplier, wherever your base is, it will then multiply off of that. meaning Deku doing a smash at the start of the series isn't comparable to what All Might can do, even though Deku's version of One For All is meant to be stronger than his. A very blatant example of this is when All Might is able to change the weather, but Deku can only destroy the 0-point robot. So I say all of that to say, Season 2 5% Deku isn't equal to 5% Deku at the end of Season 3. Now if Deku at the end of Season 3 were to go 100%, I'd say he'd definitely be around mountain level to large mountain level, but this is a last resort as he does have to break his bones, and especially at this part in the series there is an emphasis on him not using 100% of his power. For his speed, he should be relativistic to light, as Mina in the sports festival is able to dodge Aoyama's laser, which is stated to be light on numerous occasions. Midoriya does scale above that Mina by a decent margin, but not enough for me to put him at light speed or even faster than light, so I think relativistic to light should be fair for him. Up next is his endurance, and Deku breaking his bones is quite literally a gimmick inside the series. His endurance is extremely great, as we do see him break his bones on multiple occasions and just continue fighting. Meaning unless he passes out from fatigue, which I mean is pretty hard as his stamina is extremely great, I don't think you'll be able to put him down unless you actually just kill him. And there is knocking him out in one blow. That is something that could work as well. Moving on from his great endurance, we have his battle IQ. And just like his endurance, it is one of his other gimmicks, as he literally does study quirks for a living. My favorite showcase of his battle IQ early on would be when he's going up against Todoroki and he points out that he does need to use his fire, as if he continues, he's going to give himself frostbite, as you could see that he was shivering. So yes, Midoriya does have the ability to analyze his opponent's powers and then counter them efficiently. And for his hacks, well, I mean, there's nothing special about it. It's just One For All. It's a strength enhancing quirk. That's it at the moment. So with that being said, why don't we jump straight into Season 5 Midoriya? And if we're speaking technically here, end of Season 5 Midoriya is just start of Season 6 Midoriya, which then means that he does have 30% of One For All with 45% burst, as that is War Arc Deku. Yeah, I cheesed this one up. Now this Deku is kind of weird to scale, but seeing as he's above certain heroes on the battlefield, but he's not the strongest on the battlefield without using 100%, I'm gonna place him at around mountain level in terms of AP, while at 100% he should be large island level to small country level. The reason I say he should be here is because of Heroes Rising, as a weaker version of him was able to destroy an island-sized storm alongside Bakugo. Now you may be asking, how the hell did I stretch this to large island level to small country level? Well, number one is because he is definitely stronger than he was in the movie, as he didn't even use Black Whip not once throughout the movie when he constantly uses it here. Another thing I do want to add is that he was using 20% in bursts instead of just using it outright, when here he's using 30% to even 45% in bursts, meaning yeah, he should definitely be far above where he was inside the film. The second reason is because of the force needed to actually do this feat. Since he's not directly punching the storm, he has to generate enough force from the ground to actually directly affect and disperse the storm. That is why this feat is definitely way more impressive than a lot of people think, and that is why it does scale a little bit higher than many may be thinking. Also, minor spoiler alert, yes, the movies are canon. We do see the people that appear inside the movies appear inside the story, and they don't do anything, so you don't need to worry if you haven't read the manga. So for his AP and durability, they should be around mountain level all the way up to small country level, depending on how much percentage of One For All he is using. For his speed, he's definitely massively faster than Light at this point, as we do see him react to Shigaraki, and he's faster than Gran Torino, who was able to blitz and amped up radio wave attack, which is faster than Light. His endurance is still extremely insane, along with his battle IQ, and now he does have an extra quirk, which is called Black Whip. Black Whip is great for many things, and to be honest, it may just be Midoriya's most versatile quirk, as this supports him with everything he's doing. From just regularly restraining people, then holding them in place so he can punch them, and then even supporting himself with the quirk. Yeah, this quirk is extremely versatile and really useful inside a battle. And even outside the battle, he can swing from places, and to add on to things that he can do inside the battle, if he really wants to, he could just grab objects and start throwing it at you with the quirk. So yeah, this quirk is extremely dangerous and just useful for Deku inside the battle. So finally, we have Final War Deku, and this is where he gets crazy. For his AP and durability, without using Farjin and Gear Shift, Deku was able to punch away a storm that was about to cover the entire planet with just a single punch. This can be calced to multi-continental plus, but as he didn't use Farjin or Gear Shift, scaling him all the way up to small planetary is definitely on the table. But for this video, I'll be keeping max power Deku at moon level as that's fair, and to be honest, he can't use those levels of attacks constantly, as we have to use those quirks at max power, and even he can't withstand that. His speed is also increased by a large margin, but not enough to jump up another tier, as that would then be infinite speed, and Nobody's had a My Hero reaches though, so he'll be at massively faster than Light Plus. His endurance and battle IQ have also increased, and he's just learned to endure more, and he's just gotten more experience inside the battle. So to end this section, we have to go over his hacks, and he has gained a few new abilities since the end of season 5 in fact, so why don't we explore them. First up we have Float, and Float is as the name suggests, but once through amping it becomes more like flight, meaning yes, Deku can fly. Next up is Danger Sense, and it's basically his Spidey sense. If you have any destructive thoughts, he's going to notice and avoid your attack. Following up on Danger Sense, we have Farjin, and Farjin is extremely strong when combined with basically every other quirk. As it stores up kinetic energy, when released it can be used to enhance things, but it's mainly used to enhance Deku's smashes or his flight. Moving on, we're going to go into his most busted ability, and that's Gear Shift. Gear Shift can be a game changer for Midoriya as it allows it to bypass the laws of inertia, and it basically gives Deku the exact same power throughout the duration of his punch, meaning in Ooga Booga language, the punch is going to hit extremely hard since gravity isn't stopping it from obviously slowing down a little bit. As he increases the gears, it only makes it stronger, so yeah. This ability is definitely his most busted ability out of all of them. Finally, we have Smokescreen, and although it's definitely the weakest, in battles where people can't sense you or don't have X-ray vision, it's definitely going to be useful to obscure their vision. So with that being said, I feel like I've covered all of his hacks, meaning I can jump straight into the video and see what would happen if Deku and Invincible helped each other out. Now to begin the fun, I'm going to go over My Hero, and the first incident that they're going to be thrown into is going to be the USJ. Mark is going to spawn in the water and notice that Deku is being attacked by some creature, so he'll rush over there and save him. Now, he's going to be in place of Sue and Mineta as well. I don't know, they've been teleported somewhere else, it's just going to be him and Deku here. Now both of them notice that they're just circling the boat, and Mark says that he can just fly down and deal with the villains, but Midoriya is pretty skeptical since he doesn't know who Mark is at this point. But Mark's like, don't worry, I've got, even if they have some weird abilities, I should be able to take them out. And so he goes down there and he deals with them. I just wanted to add that this is going to be season 1 Mark, and he'll be accompanying Izuku all the way up until the end of season 3. So since Mark can fly, he's just going to grab Izuku and take him off of the boat, and he's going to tell him about Aizawa and how he's fighting the main villains who are going to be Shigaraki, Kurogiri, and the Nomu. Now as Aizawa is about to get jumped by all of them and about to get his bones crushed by the Nomu, Mark rushes in and he starts to deal with the Nomu. And since Aizawa's eyes are still open, the shock absorption has been turned off, meaning Kurogiri is going to rush over there. Even though the Nomu can regenerate, he's still obviously going to keep the Nomu alive just for all might, and somebody random has just showed up that can fly and can also beat up the Nomu somehow. Obviously they're going to be on guard and they're going to be like, alright, Kurogiri, send this guy somewhere random. Now as Mark is pretty fast, he's going to be able to dodge this and then be like, okay, what is going on here? Why is there a massive pool here? And he's going to try to fight it, but then I feel like Deku is going to then point out what its ability is. The reason I believe Deku should be able to find out what Kurogiri's weakness is pretty easily is because Bakugo was able to attack it once and then figure out what its weakness was. If Deku is able to see Mark attack Kurogiri a few times and figure out, well, that neck brace just isn't budging but everything else is, so he's going to tell Mark to attack the neck brace, and yeah, he just one-shots Kurogiri. Now at this point, Aizawa would probably tell Midoriya to get off the battlefield, but you know how he is. Meddling where you're not supposed to be is, well, it's the essence of a true hero, so yeah, he's just gonna stay on the battlefield. And so Midoriya and Aizawa are left to fight Shigaraki while Mark takes on the Nomu. Now they defeat Shigaraki pretty quickly, and so they're now back onto the Nomu, and with Aizawa's quirk being active, yeah, the Nomu's getting packed up. One thing I'd like to add is that Mark should technically be slower than the Nomu, but since Aizawa's helping out, he's gonna be able to easily blitz it, and obviously yeah, he just wins. So that is a W up on the board for the boys. And so up next we have Stain, and yeah, Stain, I love Stain, but he's just, no, Mark is gonna one-shot him. Like, if both of them try to attack him at once, Stain may just genuinely implode. So yeah, Midoriya is pointless here, and the call he made out to Todoroki is going to be pointless here, so that's just another W up on the board for the boys. Moving on, we have the summer camp, and this is where Deku is going to be fighting Muscular, and obviously as he lands his first smash, Mark is going to appear and just smash him across the face. Now he does realize that Kota's there, and I feel like Mark is going to tell Deku to run, obviously take Kota, but I mean, don't we love a little bit of a jumping? So yeah, when they get to scrapping, Muscular's gonna try to hang in there, but his muscles can't take all of that, so yeah, he's just going to get beat up instantly by both of them. And since Deku isn't injured here, Mark can fly, this is gonna easily help out everybody else there. And so yeah, after just whizzing around, finding out the villains and where they are, they're just gonna obviously take him down, and yeah, that should just be it. Mark is here to save the day, so that's another W up on the board for the boys. Following up on that, we have the league hideout, and the plan is different this time, as Mark just randomly appears there by... Actually, let's just say Cecil just keeps teleporting him in. I don't know, let's just say that. With Mark being there, the group's plan changes, as Mark is easily able to just fly in, grab Bakugo, and whiz out. All for One's going to try to attack him, but he's just going to be able to punch away his tendrils and just fly back. He's then going to tell them all to run while him and Deku sort the situation out, because I told Mark to bring Deku into battle. Realistically, he shouldn't even be on the battlefield, but hey, look, listen. I told him to. So they square up with the league plus All for One, and yeah, let's just say Deku, yeah, he kind of gets like focused by All for One and one-shot on the spot, but Mark is then able to obviously try and save him, but at this point I think he's a little bit too damaged, so he's out of the fight, but Mark is going to stay there and fight. He's going to be able to hold them down for a little while until All Might shows up, and then yeah, once All Might is there, him and Mark just jump All for One, and that is the end of it. For this round, it's going to be half a point. Although Mark can try everything, when you have too many people jumping Midoriya, especially when they're going to be a little bit faster than you'd expect, and All for One is just one of the main villains of My Hero, yeah, I don't think Mark is going to be able to carry Izuku that much at this point in the story. So that's going to be half a win for the boys. Moving into season 4 and 5, we now have season 2 Mark, and this is where they're going to be going to Chisaki's hideout, and they run this solo. Yes, I'm making these two run this solo. As these two enter the underground compound, they're going to be separated by Joy, and even when they try to obviously get back to each other, he's just going to continue to just morph the place, so they just can't get back to each other, so they're forced into their own little battles. Mark is going to be sent down the path that Mirio was sent down, and for Deku, he's going to be sent down to fight everybody else, and yeah, Mark is going to have a lot of success where he's going. He's going to instantly defeat Chisaki and take back Eri, but let's just say Deku is going to be jumped by everyone, and even if he does go all out, due to Twice being there and just the sheer amount of numbers that they can just produce, yeah, I don't see him making it out of this one. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to put half a point up on the board, as when Mark gets there, he's then gonna see Izuku lay down on the floor. He's gonna get mad and beat all of them up, but yeah, that's half a point, so put another half a point up on the board for the boys. Following that, we have Gentle Criminal, and yeah, this isn't fair. It doesn't matter how much he gets amps, they're gonna beat him easily, so yeah, that's another W up on the board for the boys. Now, as season 5 doesn't have anything in it, I might as well just put Heroes Rising here, since it's gonna be interesting. So in place of Bakugo, I'm going to put Mark here, and I'm going to put him exactly where the island side storm is created. Now, Deku was thinking about giving Mark one for all, but Mark is like, I don't need that, we can just fight him anyway. So what did they decide to do? They decided to team up, and they try to punch away the storm. Fortunately, Mark does have the AP for it, and so they're able to disperse the storm, and this is where they have to fight 9, and 9 is going to get jumped to hell. 9 can try to abuse those shields, but Mark is going to be too fast for him, and then with Deku following up after that, yeah, it's just not fair. So put another W up on the board for the boys. So we enter the latter part of the story, and that's season 6 up until the final war. And first up, we're going to cover the final war. Now for this, I'm going to make them the only people in the battlefield, while everybody else just deals with all the extras, meaning it's going to be Mark and Deku versus Shigaraki. Teleporting in right as Deku stops to decay, Mark grabs him and whizzes over to Shigaraki. Now, this is going to be a weird fight, as Aizawa isn't going to be there to stop his quirks from activating, but his body hasn't fully accustomed to the new quirks it's been given. So it's going to be a little bit weird, but either way, Mark is going to be fast, so he's going to be able to deal a lot of damage to Shigaraki at once, while Deku comes in and they just combo together. With both of them working together, Shigaraki, yeah, it just isn't, yeah, he's just not winning. Especially with Deku restraining him, they make this very one-sided, meaning there's another point up on the board for the boys. And even if you want them to continue fighting, they should be able to easily defeat everybody else in the battlefield, so yeah, a point is definitely going to be awarded for them here. Up next is Lady Nagun, and just like with Gentle Criminal, this isn't fair in the slightest, so put another W up on the board for the boys. So finally, we have the final war, and I'm going to make them run this by themselves. This means yes, Shigaraki, All for One, Gigantomachia, the Nomu, Darby, Toga, and everybody else. That's what I'm going to put them in there with. Now what the heroes have decided is they're going to place the entire league and the duo onto Flying UA and let the fight play out. When the battle begins, instantly the lower level fodder are dealt with, as these two, and especially Mark, can just go around in a flash and deal with them. So who's left? Darby, Gigantomachia, All For One, and Shigaraki will be left. Now, although Toga is strong, she gets neutralized immediately since they do know that she can transform and they don't know who she can transform into. For all they know, she could transform into another Shigaraki, so they're like, yeah, let's get her out of the way. And for Spinner, what is he meant to do? And so after Mark is done whizzing around with Deku helping him out here and there, they then go to take out Darby first since they want to get rid of the weaker one, and then they just focus on Gigantomachia, and then after that, that's when they fight All For One and Shigaraki. They may be thinking, how did Mark and Deku whiz around and defeat all the weaker ones? Aren't Shigaraki and All For One meant to be on their levels in terms of speed? I mean, yeah, Deku, but Mark is gonna whiz around and do everything. While flying, Mark in season 3 is extremely fast. So fast to the point where I don't think Shigaraki or All For One are gonna be able to keep up with him, meaning yeah, he just gets free reign over the battlefield. And so when All For One is fighting Mark and Deku's fighting Shigaraki, Mark is going to deal with All For One, and as this is end of season 3 Mark, you may think I'm gassing there, but I won't be surprised if Mark just picks up All For One and throws him into space. As to be honest, All For One has done way too much, and Mark is gonna obviously know about all of this, so I think he may just lose it on All For One and just throw him into space. While I mean Shigaraki, he knows what Deku wants to do for Shigaraki, so he's not going to do that. So when he goes down to obviously help him out, yeah, I mean, they're just going to be able to beat up on Shigaraki anyway. And even if you do want to make the argument that Mark doesn't throw All For One into space, then I think he's just going to be able to easily just continuously kill him until he's a baby, and then yeah, he just disappears. But with those two coming together, they're going to be able to take down Shigaraki, even down to the point where his healing just isn't going to be a factor there, since they're going to continuously be working him, and he can't keep up with both of them working together. So that's another W up on the board for the boys, allowing me to move into Invincible. And to begin this section, we're going to go over the Flaxons. Now during the animated series, they do invade 3 times, so I'm going to class this as 3 different rounds. Both of them get out of round 1 pretty well, since well there were other heroes there, so yeah, this is an easy win for them. Round 2, they get this win again, but this time Deku may have to break a few of his bones to obviously stay in there, since well he's going to need them smashes and pause. Both his amazing analytical abilities and obviously the heroes inside the original story figuring it out by themselves as well, going to be able to figure out what the Flaxons have done, and so they're going to start destroying their bracelets, and yeah, that's another win for the group. And so for the third invasion, they do well, but they have to rely on Omni-Man to show up and deal with it. Meaning, I'm only going to give them half a point here, so they only get 2.5 wins for the Flaxons. And so following up on the Flaxons, we have Dr. Seismic, and yeah, these two are easily able to take him down and detain him. As Deku is there instead of Eve, I do feel like they'll be able to do this even without him jumping into the lava, so yeah, let's put another W up on the board for the boys. Following up on Dr. Seismic, we have Machine Head, and these two go all out. I mean, they've broken every bone in their body, but Battle Beast just stands there and he's like, is that it? He can defeat the other villains that Machine Head did bring, but yeah, aside from that, Battle Beast is making this a one-sided storm. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to put an L up on the board for the boys. So to the end of season 1, we have them up against Noland, and why am I even, yeah, they get folded. Both of them get folded at once. Oh, that is another unfortunate L up on the board for the boys. So to kick off season 2, we have the Mauler twins, and they win pretty easily here since Deku is extremely experienced, and he would hear him out in the beginning, but after realizing that he's kind of a maniac, they defeat the Mauler twins and then rip Levi out of the machine before it explodes. So Deku actually makes up for what a cocky Mark did in the story, so yeah, that's definitely a W up on the board for the boys. Following up on the Mauler twins, we have the Deep Dweller, and they gang up on him, and with Izuku using his black whip and then just like tying it down, they're both able to pummel it, and they don't even need to request backup, meaning yeah, this is going to be extremely one-sided, allowing me to put another W up on the board for the boys. Moving on from Deep Dweller, we have Lucan, Vido, and Thulla. And as we know, Lucan attacks them first, and I'm just going to let everything play out in canon. Nolan's going to show up, help him out, tell him to get away, they get away, then Nolan comes up to them, and obviously he gets mad at obviously Mark, well, not mad at Mark, but he's just mad at what the Viltrumites are doing. And then Thulla and Vido arrive, and that's when they fight. Nolan fights Vido by himself, while Deku and Mark take on Thulla, and they're able to defeat her without killing her. As Deku realizes there's a speed gap between him and Thulla, he decides to take on a supporting role and just binds her up, while Mark decides to land blows on her, allowing them to beat her through pure teamwork. And when Nolan sees that, he's like, okay, yeah, that's cool, but he still kills her. The main reason is because he wants both of them to be more ruthless, and when Lucan arrives, well, he has to fight them, and yeah, he basically passed out after sneak attacking Nolan anyway, so yeah, he just gets beat anyway. So this is definitely a W up on the board for the boys. So following up on the Viltrumites, they have another Viltrumite, and it's Anissa. Now these two technically, in theory, should be able to defeat her, but they don't have the will to kill her, so yeah, they just end up losing. Now there is something that Deku could give Mark to allow him to win, but I'm not doing that here, so yeah, and I think you guys should already know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about him giving Mark one for all, but let's not do that here and just say that they lose her. And so at the end of season 2, we have Angstrom Levy, and these two easily defeat him. Now, as they were shown so many realities and Deppy was even hurt, I wouldn't be surprised if Mark lashes out before Deku can do something. But yeah, Armstrong Levy doesn't die here, but they still get the win anyways. That's another W up on the board for the boys. So finally, we have season 3, and to begin, we have Dr. Seismic, and they beat him up pretty easily alongside his creatures. Oh, and Deku does take the place of Eve here, so yeah, it's another W up on the board for the boys. But moving on, once again, they face off against the Mauler twins, and when they arrive, they defuse the situation pretty quickly as Deku one-shots both of the Mauler twins, and Mark takes the missile up into space, like in canon. Oh, and Deku would take Oliver's place here, so this is another W up on the board for the boys. Now here is where I'd like to put Future Immortal, but yeah, he gets one shot, so we're moving on to the Invincible War. Appearing at the prison, they see Mohawk Mark, and they get the exact same explanation as they did in canon, but this time the fight will be completely one-sided as they both jump him and then easily detain him. Also remember that this is final War Deku, so he's gonna have a lot more strength behind what he's doing. He can have a lot more quirks and utility to help Mark here. On the second day, just like in canon, they run into face covered Mark and Omni Mark, who they're able to take down pretty easily. Here Deku helps out by using his danger sense and then using his smoke screen along with his raw stats to just defeat them. After that, the stray Invincibles that are hanging around will be taken up by the heroes just like in canon, while the rest will be sent away by Angstrom Levy, and that's where Mark and Deku roll up on him, and yeah, they just jump him. Now when Levy tries to escape this time, he's not going to be able to, as Deku uses Black Whip on him and rips him out of whatever portal he is trying to go into. This is where Oliver shows up and he tells him to kill him, but they're both looking at each other like, really? And they get into a little argument as Mark does believe that they should kill him, but Deku's like, I don't believe so, we can just detain him. And so while they're arguing, Oliver uses this opportunity to then kill him, and yeah, Deku isn't satisfied with this conclusion, but they won anyway, so that's another point up on the board for the boys. And so finally, we have Conquest, and this is the one where they both have to go all out for, as if they don't, they get up in serious trouble. Appearing while Mark and Deku are helping out around the city, Conquest says he's here, well, prepare for his arrival when he's already there, and they both turn around and they immediately know what needs to happen. As soon as the fight starts, Deku already knows where his role has to be here. He's going to be a support for Mark, as he does know that Mark is able to keep up with him, and even though he is comparable to Mark in terms of raw strength, he just isn't comparable when it comes down to speed. What he would do is use his quirks to help out, like using Black Whip to restrain Conquest for moments so Mark can obviously land blows, or just stop him from obviously hitting Mark, and then using his smoke screen to distract Conquest. Things like that are going to be extremely useful, and along with danger sense, he should be able to narrowly avoid some of Conquest's attacks. Now at a certain point, Conquest is going to get tired of Deku constantly coming in, so when he tries to change targets to Deku, Deku will call out to Mark, and what he will do is he'll shield Mark and himself in Black Whip, allowing them to take the damage a lot better. And so when Conquest tries to follow up on attacks, what Deku will then do is he'll then use his full power to then counter him. Now as this is Final War Deku, this is going to do enormous damage to Conquest, and Conquest is going to be weakened from this, and this allows Mark to go in and tee off. Deku can obviously chime in with his own things, and they're going to be able to do decent damage, but unless they both use their rage amp states or just their max power states, they're not going to be able to do any lasting damage to him. So what does Deku decide to do? Let's go for another full powered smash, and he just continues to go on. Both of them will continuously tee off on them, allowing them to win the battle. Now the only reason being they even won the fight was mainly due to their teamwork and Deku's quirks. With a few other versus battles I've done with Deku, smokescreen has kind of been a non-factor as people can sense things and whatnot, but here it's actually really useful as the Viltrumites can't sense people, meaning Deku is going to be able to use that to his advantage. This means along with him using Black Whip to restrain him and obviously do certain things and just help out with Mark, This does allow them to win the fight, and so yeah, it's mainly due to just teamwork and communicating, and obviously Deku having to sacrifice his whole entire body so they can win, since well, he has to use his full power to actually do real damage to Conquest. So yeah, they do get the win, meaning put W up on the board for them. And so that allows me to go to the conclusion of the video and then the outro. So for the conclusion, they get 21 out of 25 points, but for how many scenarios they make it out of, it's going to be 19 out of 25, meaning that is pretty impressive since it's a really good winning record. And so with that being said, it allows me to get into the outro of the video. So you made it to the end. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I really did enjoy writing this video and obviously recording it. Although this did take me a little bit long, I don't mind it. So if you guys want videos like this in the near future, you know what to do. Hit the like button and subscribe. Tell me and I'll obviously do them. Just make sure that I've actually seen the story or something, because if I haven't, then I just can't cover it. But yeah, I love you guys. Thank you for the support. I shall see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.